After rescuing John from the fire, my sister Emily locked me inside the burning building to silence me. My face was disfigured beyond recognition. I bore the blame for allegedly plotting against Emily and seducing the heir of the Wilson family. The world mocked me as the ugly troublemaker. Emily claimed I'd shamelessly thrown myself at John. And even father pressured me to marry the one-eyed stable hand on our estate to preserve the family honor. I confronted John, who'd stood by indifferently. Is this my reward for saving your life? He coldly retorted. You interrupted my rendezvous with Emily. I should be punishing you instead. My heart turned to ash. On their wedding day, I dragged us all into the flames. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the fire. This time, I locked the courtyard gates and fed the flames until they roared. Chapter 1. Miss Ivy. The West Wing's burning. The young master is trapped inside. The panic in Emily's maid's eyes told me everything. I'd been reborn on the very day John was caught in the fire. In my previous life, I'd rushed into the inferno at the maid's urging. When I found John pinned beneath a fallen beam, his gaze burned brighter than the flames. Ivy! Save me! He'd pleaded, looking at me like I was divine salvation. Though fire licked at my skin, my love overpowered survival instincts. I dragged the beam away, only to be struck by collapsing window frame. John's first act upon escaping? Not rescuing me, but fishing Emily out of a water vat. They fled hand in hand while I screamed. As flames consumed the doorway, Emily turned the key. If people learn we were alone together in this fire, her voice dripped false concern. Family honor matters more than one illegitimate daughter. Smoke filled my lungs. Blisters bubbled across my skin. When rescuers finally came, my ruined face made father flinch. Your sister and John were seen escaping together, he said. The Brown family's reputation hangs by a thread. You'll take the blame. Thus I became the scheming seductress who'd accidentally burned herself, while John emerged as the hero who saved Emily. Their romance became legend, my love turned to ashes. Confined to dark rooms, I endured noble women's taunts. Look at that monster. Ugly people cause trouble. Her harlot mother's blood runs thick. Emily pretended compassion. Poor Ivy simply loved too fiercely. She led gawkers to my old bedroom, now shrined to my obsession with John. Their laughter echoed as they mocked my dead mother, the climbing whore who bore me. When mother's friends suggested exiling me through marriage, father agreed. They betrothed me to the stables leering. One-eyed drunk. Through tears, I demanded answers from John. Was saving you worth this? He sneered. You disturbed my date with Emily. Consider this mercy. On their wedding day, I embraced them with fire. Now reborn, I smile as flames consume Emily's locked courtyard. Let heaven judge us all. He turned away in annoyance. What else? Should I force myself on you with this ugly face? My conscience already torments me day and night. What more do you want? Besides, if you hadn't started the fire, why would you risk your life to save me? The only reason I'm not punishing you for interrupting my meeting with Emily is because you're her sister. Ivy. My heart plunged into icy darkness. Coldness seeping through my limbs as my voice trembled. Then, could you at least invite me to your wedding? Consider it repayment for saving your life. John gave me a dismissive glance. Attending my ceremony should count as witnessing your own marriage. You're truly despicable. Fine. Consider this my charity to indulge your twisted fantasies. On the wedding day, I bribed a maid to lace the wine with heavy sedatives. When both the Wilsons and Browns lay unconscious, I set everything ablaze with my ruined body. Never thought I'd get a second chance. While father led servants toward the gardens, I found Mrs. Johnson gasping on the ground, face purpling from choked phlegm. Drawing on medical skills learned from treating John's burns and my own pains in past life, I pushed through the crowd and suctioned the blockage mouth to mouth amidst gasps. A healer's duty comes first. The The disgusted stares transformed into grateful admiration when the old matriarch revived. She inquired about my name, age, and marital status. Under my stepmother's stormy gaze, I answered demurely, delighted by my obedience and unmarried status. Mrs. Johnson forced her jade bracelet onto my wrist. Good girl. Such a good girl. She'd taken a liking to me. My stepmother tolerated this, exchanging a bastard daughter for political gain with the prestigious Johnsons suited her. The Johnsons' hereditary nobility outshone both Brown and Wilson clans. Unlike the options my stepmother offered widowed magistrates, lecherous merchants, or being some lord's concubine, climbing this gilded ladder meant survival. I needed to ascend beyond my family's reach. But how would aristocrats accept a bastard? Unless they owed me a life debt. In previous life, Mrs. Johnson had favored Lily tonight, that gentle soul who later married Mike's wastrel son. Within half year of wedding, Lily died heartbroken as her husband sired bastards. She'd been kind when others mocked my scars, sharing pastries and insisting, the world judges by flesh. But Miss Brown, your calligraphy reveals iron integrity. I know you'd never arson. Your character matters most. Her words solved my insecurities, making her my only true friend. When she married, I avoided the ceremony, fearing my face would shame her, instead promising a silver lock for her future child. But when she died, my keepsake box had been thrown down a well by Emily. No lock ever reached Lily's coffin, but among her belongings, she left me a handmade hairpin. Later, when I had nothing left, I spent days sitting alone with that hairpin, growing increasingly isolated and numb. Eventually, I chose to end my life by taking John with me. In this lifetime, my connection with John ends here. Since I no longer interact with his cousin Lily, I must still save her, my only true friend. As for those debauched scions of noble families, they deserve the retribution fitting their misdeeds. Madam, something terrible has happened. The master says Emily was caught in a fire and has been carried back to the courtyard. The crowd gasped, their gazes instinctively turning toward me, the supposed second young lady. Under public scrutiny, I'd rescued the horribly burned young master from the flames and pulled the family's young lady from a water vat. My reputation was already ruined. My biased father immediately shielded Emily's face, yet shouted my name. The narrative swiftly twisted. I, the illegitimate daughter, was accused of secretly meeting a man, causing the fire that crushed John's legs and burned his back. The Brown and Wilson families preserved their honor. But what awaited me? With no one to protect me and my reputation destroyed after injuring John, I faced utter ruin. Yet father never anticipated I'd appear at the banquet, saving Mrs. Johnson and being chosen as her grandson Mike's fiancé. Given my resemblance to my sister, his mistaken identity was understandable. When his scheme backfired and I exposed Emily's disgrace instead, father smashed a teacup against my forehead. Why didn't you go to the abandoned courtyard? Emily's people came for you immediately. For your sister's honor and John's life, you shouldn't have stood by, enduring the blow. I feigned distress. Jade Bamboo never mentioned sister was trapped too. Had I known Emily was in Fragrant Garden, I'd have risked my life to save her. But John is an unrelated man. Would father have me disregard propriety to rescue him alone? Yet when seeking mother's help, I found Mrs. Johnson choking on phlegm. If father had to choose between John's injuries and Mrs. Johnson dying in our backyard, father paled. Offending either the Johnson or Wilson families meant disaster. While John's condition remained uncertain, letting Mrs. Johnson die from negligent care would brand us inhospitable hosts. The main wife's failure to prepare proper physicians wasn't my fault. Aligning with the Johnsons is your good fortune, father finally conceded. But remember, you're still a Brown. Though he dropped the matter. The furious main wife punished me with temple kneeling and transcription, yet news still seeped through cracks. John's legs would never fully heal. Emily's illness keeping her indoors was interpreted by the Wilsons as callous abandonment. The Marquis family loathed the Browns now. Even consort John's aunt, made the main wife kneel for hours during their tea meeting. The humiliated woman returned trembling, barely able to stand. Despite daily visits to John with the recovering Emily, the Browns' efforts failed. The harsh Wilson women redirected their scorn, once meant for me, onto coddled Emily. "I won't marry that scarred cripple," Emily sobbed to her mother after returning. "John's face terrifies me. I'll have nightmares. Father, help me." So perished her eternal love before disfigurement. I chuckled coldly in my heart but kept to myself in the courtyard, diligently sewing shoes and clothes for Mrs. Johnson. My father paced like an ant on a hot pan. Enraged by my indifferent attitude, he smashed my sewing basket. "Instead of wasting time on these rags, why not help your sister?" I picked up the embroidered robe and dusted it off. If John truly loved Emily, why would he ruin her? If he's willing to forgive, the Wilsons can't pursue this further. Emily always knew how to manipulate him. Father still hesitated, clinging to the Wilsons' influence. But stepmother declared, "Our Browns can marry royalty. What's a mere Wilson family?" She wasn't wrong. Her sister, being the emperor's favorite concubine, could easily arrange an imperial marriage, provided we ended this engagement properly. Stepmother tossed me silver coins. "You'll accompany Emily to the Wilsons tomorrow." Though I was helping her, she sought to harm me. No matter, her schemes would backfire on her own daughter. At the Wilsons' lakeside pavilion, I watched stepmother's meaningful glance to Emily before leaving us. She didn't realize what consequences her plotting would unleash. John lay face down like a cocooned caterpillar, legs bandaged into barrels. His once handsome face, praised throughout the capital, now resembled cracked leather after the fire. I hid behind Emily, suppressing laughter. "John, are you better?" Emily began her performance, dabbing tears. "This is my fault. If I'd shielded you." "Don't be absurd," John rasped, still gentle with her. "I'd rather die than see you hurt. These wounds are bearable, if your love remains true." Emily's handkerchief stiffened before her sobs intensified. "But my reputation, your family hates me. How can I face you?" She pivoted smoothly. "Ivy's devotion matches mine. For both families' honor, we must deny our affair." John turned ashen, trembling at Emily's betrayal. She'd underestimated his love. The Wilsons' fury stemmed from John trying to break the engagement himself after disfigurement, to spare Emily mockery. His pride couldn't endure her seeing his ruined face daily. Yet he'd overestimated her heart. Father sought power, stepmother profit, Emily social climbing, none valued genuine affection. Pity John wasted 10 years loving this viper. "I'll fetch medicine." Emily fled. "Learn to change his bandages," I said sweetly. Alone with the shattered man, I watched his trembling hands clutch empty air. How poetic, the playboy finally understood love's true taste. But I wasn't about to let go of this perfect chance to rub salt in the wound. "Stop looking," I scoffed. "She's finally escaped, why would she come back?" John glared at me like a feral wolf, all jagged edges and defiance. "You forced her, didn't you?" Emily was right, you're a shameless mutt. Throw you a bone and you'd latch on forever. Let me make this clear, every kindness was an act. Emily enjoys playing with strays. So I humored her. A toad lusting after a swan's flesh? Fine. When my leg heals and I wed Emily, I'll gift you to the stable master. Let you climb the Wilson family ladder through his bed. But then again, my smile sharpened. Your leg isn't healing. Is it, John? The room froze. I'd ripped open the secret everyone had guarded, that below the knee. His leg was gone. His head whipped around so violently I heard vertebrae crack. Frantic fingers clawed at linen-wrapped stumps, the truth dawning in his widening pupils. See for yourself. I yanked the blanket aside. His scream could have shattered glass. Did you really think I'd want a scarred cripple? I leaned in. Sweet poison dripping from every word. Since when could anyone force Emily? She's chasing the prince's cousin now, aiming for a royal mistress's silken cage. Smart girl. A medicine bowl exploded against my temple. Out! Blood trickled as I fled to the lakeside pavilion, wailing loud enough to rouse the household. John, he only wants Emily. The Wilsons' faces darkened with realization, the Brown family's bait and switch scheme laid bare. Emily turned corpse pale as servants dragged her home. My stepmother's nails bit into my arm. But the game had shifted. Let them seethe. Tonight. The mutt had drawn blood. When I returned home with my injuries, Michael Johnson arrived with lavish gifts. Before leaving, I had sent servants to deliver handmade garments to Madame Johnson. Knowing the Johnsons' propriety, they would promptly send a reciprocal gift, allowing me to retreat unscathed under their influence. Yet, I hadn't anticipated my betrothed, Michael himself, would come. As a fiancé chosen by parental decree, he seized this chance to assess my appearance. Should my looks or virtue displease him, he'd have countless ways to bar me from the Johnson family. Tears shimmering in my eyes, I exposed my delicate neck, blending shyness, vulnerability, and gratitude. Thank you, sir. This sachet is for you. I hope it's not beneath your notice. Deliberately, I let my slender fingers graze his hand, eliciting a shiver. He nearly melted on the spot. Were we not in the Brown residence? He might have unleashed his notorious audacity, the same force he'd used to claim countless village girls. Don't fear, Ivy, he crooned. As your betrothed, I'll shield you. The Johnsons may lack the Browns' influence, but we're no kneaded dough. He stormed into my father's study, raging. The eldest daughter's disgrace isn't the younger's burden. Ivy is my fiancée. How dare you substitute her for another? Is the Brown family mocking the Johnsons? I'll consult grandfather to see if we've fallen so low that even ants trample us. My scholarly father, unequipped for such brutish theatrics, capitulated with apologies and a costly set of scholars' tools, losing face and treasure alike. Fuming, he punished Emily with calligraphy drills and condemned me to the ancestral hall, warning me against tattling to the Johnsons. I acquiesced sweetly, then immediately wrote to my dear fiancé. That very afternoon, Mike arrived with pastries, compelling father to release me from the hall and return me to my chambers, plus 2 iridescent vases as compensation. I'll visit unexpectedly, Ivy, Mike declared, eyes gleaming. Misbehave, and I'll know. Though father seethed, he dared not punish me further. Yet he clung to severing the engagement with John Wilson, investing heavily in Emily's training for the spring banquet's feather robe dance, a ploy to captivate the prince seeking a concubine. Unbeknownst to him, this scheme would ruin Emily utterly. At the princess's banquet, I played the zither as Emily, draped in gossamer, became the ethereal dance's centerpiece. Even my drooling fiancé stared. Yet when he noticed my bitten lip and tearful gaze, he straightened abruptly. Post-performance, he offered me a pastry box. Saved these for you. Try one. Hiding behind my sleeve, I pretended to eat while slipping the treat into my cuff. His eyes sparkled. Later, I'll take you boating. You'll adore the lake views. My bashful nod left him grinning like a fool. Emily, witnessing Mike's devotion, burned with hatred. After the feast, she accidentally entered the prince's study during a wardrobe change. Boldly, she discussed dance, virtues, and statecraft, all lines father had crafted to match the prince's tastes. Lady Brown, the prince mused, we share rare rapport. Yet I heard you and John Wilson were enamored. Does his injuries cool your ardor? Emily dabbed fake tears. What woman wouldn't desire a handsome, Whole man? His scarred face and crippled legs haunt my nightmares. He extorts marriage for merely handing me a wet cloak during a fire, a monstrous, scheming wretch. The prince nodded thoughtfully. Emily Brown of the Brown family blushed as she glanced at the young lord. If I were to marry, it should be to a talented and accomplished gentleman like yourself. Even being your servant or concubine would be preferable to becoming a crippled man's caretaker. I watched with bitter satisfaction as John sat rigidly in his wheelchair, his mother and sister glaring at me with venomous eyes. Their contempt and humiliation from our past life now rained down upon John through Emily's cruel words, shattering his dignity and confidence beyond repair. Go! Take me away now! John screamed hoarsely at his servants, nearly begging as they hastily wheeled him from the courtyard. In their rush, his chair tipped over, sending him sprawling into the dirt. The pathetic sight of him dragging his paralyzed legs across the ground like some wounded animal made even the timid princess gasp in horror. Mother! I'm scared, she whispered. John froze mid-crawl before collapsing face-first into the dust. So even he could feel shame when humiliated publicly. How then had he remained so indifferent when his family tormented me in our previous life? Just words, he dismissively said. What harm could they do? Servants eventually carried the broken man away under Mrs. Wilson and his sister's frantic directions. I didn't miss the twin trails of humiliated tears leaking from his tightly shut eyes. But Lady Wilson wasn't finished. Her cold laughter echoed as maids suddenly threw open the study doors. Seducing men in my own household? The Wilson matriarch sneered at Emily cowering under the desk. Didn't you bother learning what we Wilson women are made of? Though Emily tried hiding, they dragged her out and slapped her 20 times across both cheeks. Filthy harlot! After ruining the Wilsons, you dare soil my husband's reputation? The noblewoman had Emily's battered face paraded through town before dumping her at the Browns' gate. Mr. Brown nearly vomited blood upon seeing his disgraced daughter. The madam clutched her handkerchief, demanding, "Why didn't you protect your sister? You should have sacrificed yourself to preserve her honor." Lowering my head meekly, I stammered. When Mike fell overboard, I panicked. How could I know Emily went to the Lord's study? If I hadn't summoned the princess, she might have been beaten to death. The truth was Mike had drugged my pastry, planning to assault me on the ship. Had I eaten it, I'd have been forced into becoming his concubine, powerless to stop his future affairs. Instead, I'd accidentally pushed him overboard while resisting. His wet clothes necessitated changing in the guest quarters near the study, conveniently timed for everyone rushing to see the commotion to witness Emily's scandal. The madam actually spat blood this time when the princess arrived, forcing our family to air Emily's shame before royalty. Any hope of Emily making a good match in the capital vanished like smoke. Yet the Wilsons still sent a marriage proposal. Childhood sweethearts with an existing engagement. John's letter sneered. Surely the Browns won't break their promise? Trapped between ruined prospects and social exile, father eagerly accepted despite Emily's wails and the madam's protests. When John arrived in his wheelchair to deliver the betrothal gifts personally, his skeletal hand gripped Emily's chin with terrifying intensity. "My dear Emily," he hissed, dead eyes boring into her soul. "I'm eternally grateful for your affection. Rest assured, I'll repay every kindness tenfold." Trembling, Emily forced out tearful pleas. "John, this was all a misunderstanding. Someone framed me. My feelings for you dash." But we both knew she'd run out of options. The broken man before her had become her only possible future. Her reluctant acceptance came far too late. The hollow clink of gold betrothal coins sounded like prison chains snapping shut. The cold pastries and tea on the table were slowly fed into Emily's mouth by John, trembling but not daring to refuse. Emily swallowed each bite like the humiliation she'd endure for the rest of her life. I stood bathed in crimson sunset, watching their retribution unfold. Emily eventually noticed me outside. After John left, she confronted me bitterly. "You think Mike's any better? That fool collapsed drunk on some courtesan's bosom last night and hasn't woken. At least John loves and protects me. Your precious Mike might leave you widowed before the wedding. Same as our past lives. She still saw me as competition, as if my misery validated her mother's illegitimate daughter status. How pitiful. Finding triumph only by trampling those beneath them. I smiled, admiring the jewelry boxes from the Johnsons. Haven't you seen? The Johnsons have nothing to offer except Mike's disgraceful behavior. His grandmother dotes on me. His mother praises my obedience. Even Mike himself says I'm the perfect match after I funded his brothel escapades. Soon I'll be promoted to widow status with endless wealth. Furious, Emily stormed off to spread rumors about my past affection for John. Mrs. Johnson squeezed my hands tearfully. Poor dear. Enduring this for my son. I don't mind. I lied sweetly. Serving Mr. Johnson is my duty. When Mike suffered stroke-like symptoms, I worked tirelessly with his mother to find treatment. No one suspected the devoted fiancé who'd secretly bribed the disgraced Dr. Simon to create potent aphrodisiacs. The Red Pavilion courtesan I'd paid kept him bedridden until his body failed. He's improving, Mrs. Johnson rejoiced weeks later, pressing banknotes into my hands. Buy yourself something nice. I beamed at my impending fortune until John cornered me. Face haggard. Ivy, why didn't you save me this time? His haunted eyes confirmed he remembered our previous life. I cut him off coldly. You never wanted my help before. What's this? Missing your plaything? His flinch brought savage satisfaction this time. The mouse would eat the cat. My sarcasm made John tremble all over. That burned face grew even more grotesque as he roared. Disgusting indeed. Your hatred and their humiliations keep reminding me not to meddle in others' karma. I did exactly that to escape fate's vortex. Yet now you accuse me of being heartless. Seems I can never do right by you selfish people who only want others to sacrifice themselves unconditionally. Huh? Ugly freak. His nightmare came true. Crumbling. He screamed. You loved me. You could have saved me. Why didn't you? Why make me this monstrous thing? Why? I kicked away his wheelchair brake, gripping the armrests to hiss. Because you deserve to taste every drop of bitterness I endured. When it wasn't your problem, you stood aloof and pristine while feasting on my suffering. Now let the storm ravage you instead. As he gaped in shock, I gave a gentle push. The wheelchair rolled down the slope toward the stairwell. Thuds and porcine shrieks followed. John, who prized dignity above all, face planted before a jeering crowd. The humiliation burned worse than his scars. Your wheelchair seems faulty. I'll have a better one made tomorrow. My promise held truth. 1 month later, I delivered his custom chair with a hollowed seat. For easier relief without trouser hassle. Consider it a wedding gift since you'll wed Emily eventually. John flushed crimson, overturning the chair with Herculean effort. Snot and tears streaked his ruined face as he raged. I stayed 3 yards away, dusting my skirt when he finally wheezed into silence. Such ingratitude. Even if displeased. Must you trash my goodwill? His spine stiffened. These were his exact words when Emily's masked gift met rejection. Best stay indoors. I advised. Wouldn't want to terrify children. His composure shattered completely at hearing his own cruelty echoed. You resent me marrying Emily. You loved me. Endured me bedding your sister. Became our shield. What changed? Because this lapdog grew tired of being leashed. Besides, with beloved Emily, why covet me? My retort paradoxically revived his hope. This is jealousy. You still love me. His eyes lit up desperately, chasing my retreating figure with hoarse cries of Ivy. Ivy! Delusional fool. Yet he blamed Emily, tormenting her creatively. We married simultaneously while Mike arrived with ginseng tonic despite consumptive pallor. The Wilson heir sent a rooster for Emily's bridal procession. Even her livid mother dared not protest when her daughter became another's property. Our wedding nights diverged starkly. Mike followed doctor's orders, drinking sedatives for chaste rest. John resurrected his mother's tools for punishing my late mother, implements I'd described through a Wilson maid-turned-informant. He thought torturing Emily would absolve him, believing my hatred stemmed from him choosing her last life. Emily's screams that night mirrored my mother's decades prior. I still see it, the ajar door. Mother pinned down. Those vile tools violating her until blood pooled scarlet. Mrs. Wilson had hugged Emily then, smiling at my petrified self. This is what happens to disobedient girls. Understood. Ivy? I sheathed my thorns, growing docile in grandmother's courtyard. When even my cat got skinned alive, I swallowed screams, weeping silently in corners. Survival meant compliance, accepting every cruelty without complaint. Now watching John's wheelchair vanish downstairs, I murmur, mind the children. Exactly as he once told me. The circle completes. John Wilson entered my life during that period. Whatever he gave Emily, he also gave me a share. Even when inviting her to admire flowers or gaze at the moon, he sent me invitations too. When presenting Emily with a jade bracelet, he gifted me a golden hairpin. He said, "Ivy is Ivy. What belongs to Ivy can never be taken away." Those who've never truly experienced love mistake fleeting passion for true love, like moths drawn to fire without regard for consequences. Yet it turned out to be nothing but a cruel game for his beloved, a heartless charade. Wiping away tears, I realized, when you stop begging for love, you become invincible. Who in the entire capital could rival my current contentment? My loyal maid nodded vigorously. Young Master John has gone crazy. Miss Emily must be having a hard time now. Her suffering meant my stepmother's suffering, which meant my satisfaction. Bucket after bucket of bloody water being carried out brought a dark sense of pleasure to the entire Wilson family. This was just the beginning. During the 3-day wedding rituals, Mike Johnson became particularly attentive after I promised to assign my maids as his concubines once his health improved. Men who frequent brothels are good at charming women, their tender words and thoughtful gestures burned John and Emily like branding irons. Emily looked haggard, her former pride and vitality replaced by dark circles that even shocked my stepmother. Seizing a private moment, our stepmother took us to the backyard. I waited under a tree for hours before seeing Emily emerge with swollen eyes. Standing side by side, I whispered, "Sister, are you feeling unwell? Your walk seems strange. Did the young master go too far on your wedding night?" Regarding marital care, he could learn from my husband. Though notorious, Mike spoils me outrageously, no household rules for me. And endless imperial tonics are delivered to my courtyard. Even so, he says I'm lacking. I shook my wrist weighted with heirloom bracelets. See how these weigh down my arm? My bright laughter rubbed salt into Emily's wounds. Nightly torment from John. Daily etiquette drills from Mrs. Wilson. Constant harassment from John's sister. Her life had become a living hell. My happiness made her pain worse, breeding bitter hatred. Watching her pale face, I adjusted my imperial hairpin. Destiny favors me regardless of birth or nobility. This wealth is mine to keep. I swished my sleeves carelessly and walked ahead as Emily shredded her handkerchief. Consumed by the hatred that had festered since childhood, she'd always destroyed what little joy I found. After dinner, when Father invited everyone to the tea room, her chance came. John played chess with Father, who pleaded, "Please treat my precious daughter well." As for me and unworthy Mike, we didn't matter. Under John's intense gaze, Mike and I shared a fishing rod by the lake. His frail body was covered in sweat as I gently wiped his forehead. Overwhelmed, he kissed my flushed cheek. "Once I finish this medicine tomorrow, I'll cherish you properly. My dear Ivy. I've waited so long." Pretending to be shy, I playfully punched his chest. "You scoundrel! Speaking such nonsense in broad daylight." When I pretended to leave, He pulled me close. Let me at least smell your fragrance. 2 months without women is driving me crazy. The game continued, each move deepening John's torment while Mike's hands roamed my waist. Our display of newly-wed bliss was poison to those watching, the ultimate cold-blooded revenge. Come here. Mike pulled me into his embrace and bit down on my neck. The sharp pain mingled with the metallic taste of blood. Yet I clenched my teeth, blushing as I indulged his twisted desires. I shot Emily a defiant glance, satisfaction blooming when I saw her and John trembling with rage. Fists clenched, pushing Mike away. I feigned propriety. Sister, if Mother saw this, she'd scold my impropriety. His arms now empty. Mike turned irritable. Propriety? He sneered at Emily. Is crawling into the prince's bed only to get your clothes torn off by the princess in public considered proper? Or getting slapped until you're black and blue? Emily turned deathly pale, trembling violently under John's stormy gaze. The entire court knew of her humiliation, though the princess had hushed it up. Whether John knew about the incident remained uncertain. Emily. John's voice dripped venom. I'm tired. Take me to your old chambers. But I should attend to our guests. Emily stammered, throwing me a desperate look. I smiled sweetly. We're family here. Go rest. Sister. Mike eagerly urged her departure, already eyeing me like prey. Hurry up before you scare my fish away. John abruptly hauled Emily against him, her body shaking like a leaf. Defy me again, he whispered against her ear, and you'll regret it. As they disappeared, Mike licked his lips. That crippled John still got fight in him. Now, my sweet wife. I caught his wandering hand. Overexert yourself now. I purred. And you'll have no energy for later. He sulked but withdrew, muttering about virtuous acts. When they emerged half an hour later, Emily's blood-speckled skirts betrayed their activities. A servant whispered about buckets of bloody water being emptied. Such stamina for an invalid. Mike taunted. John ignored him, dark eyes burning into me. No concern for my health. Ivy? I dabbed Mike's brow. With Emily's devoted care. Why worry? John shattered his teacup and stormed off. Emily watched, hatred twisting her features as realization dawned his obsession had shifted to me. Now she sought to drag me down with her. Spotting her approach from the corner of my eye, I smiled. The final act was about to begin. I swiftly pulled Mike to my seat. Amidst gasps, everyone witnessed Emily push Mike into the water. A spent arrow that breaks at the touch described Mike's failing health. Though imperial physicians were summoned, Mike ultimately passed away amidst the Johnson family's wails. I remained silent until Mike's coffin was sealed, then threw myself against it with feigned madness. Though bloodied and battered, I'd controlled the impact perfectly, superficial wounds with no mortal danger. After 2 days of feigned unconsciousness, I awoke tearfully confessing to the Johnsons, my sister only resented my undeserved happiness. Her hatred was meant for me. My husband suffered because of me. I should have died. Why save me? Let me reunite with him in the afterlife as devoted lovers. My torrential tears and heartbroken demeanor dissolved the Johnsons' last traces of resentment toward me. Good child. The Johnson matriarch sighed. With such devotion, you were Mike's blessing. Their fury now turned fully toward seeking vengeance against the Brown and Wilson families. When the Browns and Wilsons mobilized their connections to mediate, the Johnsons, equally prestigious as these old money dynasties, stood firm. Only the Wilsons, buoyed by the imperial consort's pregnancy, remained untouchable. Emily remained confined in Wilson Manor awaiting resolution of the legal battle. Meanwhile, John descended into madness. The memory of Mike kissing Ivy at the lakeside tormented him relentlessly. His abuse of Emily escalated horrifically, branding her face with hot irons. You humiliated her scarred face? Then you'll marry a stable hand disfigured. He ranted. This repays her debt. She'll forgive me now. In John's bloodshot eyes, Emily saw only predatory madness. Remembering my words, while this cripple lives, you'll never know peace. A woman's fortune lies in advancement, wealth, and freedom from a husband. She found sudden courage. Seizing a hairpin, she stabbed John's throat repeatedly until dawn revealed his corpse in her cowering, deranged form under blood-stained quilts. He tried to kill me, she babbled. I was meant to be a noble matron like mother. I'll marry royalty. The Wilsons threw Emily in prison for double homicide. As the Wilsons and Johnsons united politically, her father was demoted to the southwestern hinterlands, becoming the capital's laughingstock. Overnight, he lost both daughter and career, his hair whitening overnight. His legal wife collapsed hemorrhaging, bedridden permanently. As a dutiful daughter, I arranged caretakers for their journey. That wife would linger in torment, witnessing her daughter's execution, then enduring lifelong agony as she'd force me to watch my mother die. My father? Chronic illness and obscurity became his lot. Publicly, I became the devoted widow, daily praying at suburban temples by daylight, indulging in wine and lovers by night. The perfect act. Capital society praised this brown daughter's loyalty, admiring my aristocratic poise and leisurely wealth. Who rivals such living? They sighed, watching me admire courtyard blossoms. None guessed the truth beneath the impeccable façade. Until just before Lily's wedding, Mrs. Johnson took me to the Davis family to present wedding gifts. In this lifetime, she was marrying into a well-respected family. Although it wasn't as wealthy as the Johnson family, the man was gentle and considerate. Even before the wedding, he was extremely protective of Lily. The ladies and young misses of various families joked about him, saying that he would probably be hen-pecked in the future. He blushed, and happiness overflowed from the corners of his mouth. It was just that he loved too deeply. There was no fear, there was only spoiling. In the fire, before I found the figure pinned down by the broken roof beam and went to a deserted corner to hide, I smiled brightly. Look, someone is happy, right? So will you come back too? Suddenly, I turned around. Behind me, Lily was holding the bracelet that I had someone custom made, her face full of tears. Only you knew my favorite style and design. I was speechless for a moment. The bracelet from the past life. There shouldn't be an identical one in this life. So, as the godmother, have you prepared the safety lock for my child?